Hello and welcome to Becoming Eva. Thank you guys for tuning in and joining Becoming Eva this Saturday morning.
Yes, good morning, people. Thank you for tuning in on another Saturday. We got some good stuff for you. So, yeah, hopefully you can hang out with us for a minute. So, I'm going to turn it over to you, Toya.
Yes, so today I have the privilege of introducing my wonderful sister in love, Brandi Underwood, and she's going to be sharing with us her expertise on Enneagrams as we're talking about what's your type. So, as always, we are going to kick it off with well, first, let me do the introduction for Miss Brandi, just in case you don't know who she is. Um, so Brandi Underwood is an executive nonprofit professional with over 10 years of leading teams where she prides herself on being driven by service and collaboration. As a national certified counselor, she believes her skill set has been an asset to leadership roles she has held, including Senior Vice President of Programs and Chief Operating Officer. She enjoys blending her counseling skills with her passion for leadership, although she has devoted the last 20 years to serving others within the nonprofit and educational sectors. She is currently working as an independent contractor so that she can have time to pour into the people who need her the most, her husband and her beautiful three children, my nieces and nephews. So, welcome, Brandi, to
Thank
Becoming
you.
Eva. We're so excited to have you on our show today.
I'm very excited to be here and to talk about something that I'm passionate about. And so I'm just glad to be here and to join you too and all the wonderful things that you all have to talk about, but the work that you're doing. I admire it.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for making time, for carving out time. I mean, three little ones is no joke. And yeah, I feel you on the contractor piece. That probably would be the best move to focus in on your family.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
I was going to ask you, can you share the ages of your three little ones?
Ooh, yes. Morgan is 10. She's my helper around the house. Carson is our entertainer. He's 8. He will make you laugh. He just has such a big personality. He's not a stranger to anyone. And then I have my surprise, who is Logan. She just turned 2. She's definitely a handful, but we're so blessed to have her. She was unexpected, but a wonderful, wonderful, unexpected blessing.
Amen. Beautiful
Yeah,
surprise. I love it.
those are the best kinds of surprises.
Yes.
Amen. Well, we'll jump on in. Before we dive into your area of expertise, we're going to do a segment called What's Trending. So, if you didn't get a chance to check out our topics, no worries. I'm going to give you a recap and just ask everybody to weigh in. Really, you do not have to be an expert in this area. We just trying to weigh in. Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
First things first, guess who just joined the Marvel Universe? Megan the Stallion. So I don't know if anyone is familiar or had the opportunity to watch the new show on Disney Plus called She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. But they are about 3 episodes in. And Megan the Stallion made an appearance on episode 3. And they're already kind of coining her like the female Thanos. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But all that to say, what are your thoughts on Megan Thee Stallion joining the Marvel comic universe? I will say they recently went viral because the star of the show, they posted a pic of them twerking, and I was like, twerking and Disney. Not too sure if those go together, but what are y'all thoughts?
Well, I looked it up because I was like, huh? Like when we think of Marvel, like I don't know. I was like Megan the Stallion in Marvel, so I had to look it up. I did see the clip. I looked at the clip of are twerking with the She-Hulk or whatever. And I was like, oh my goodness. I just would hate for, I feel like a lot of times media portrays Black women um, to be like this drama filled twerking and, just our curves and, I personally don't like when media always wants to kind of shine a light on those different aspects of Black women. And I just hope that if she is going to be in Marvel, that they don't have her like, doing that type of stuff, like to keep it somewhat classy. Because I feel like a lot of times when I see Black women on television, we're just portrayed as like full of drama or angry or we're twerking or like just that those are my thoughts when I was watching the little clip.
Well, yay to Disney for diversity. I guess we could start with something positive. I don't know if it's the type of diversity we want for our kids necessarily, but at least they're attempting to let everybody be represented. Maybe some identify with Megan Thee Stallion. But Toya, I agree with you 100%. We are portrayed in somewhat of a hypersexualized way. And we don't always have to fall into that. So hopefully, I know that's her persona and her character, but maybe she'll change it up a little bit to let us see a different side of Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see Megan and maybe the Stallion can stay a little away from Disney. So we'll see.
Yes. I would definitely give her kudos though for expanding and branching out her talents, because that is awesome.
Yes, it is.
She's definitely reinventing herself, which is great. And then I always am just not baffled, but I always have to remind myself, like when she started blowing up, like she was in school, like she was working on her degree. And so, prayerfully there's still an aspect there that she's, trying to pursue or marry with her current career as a recording artist. So, I mean, this is an educated Black woman that we're talking about here. Yes. So I'm praying and trusting and believing that she will add that aspect into her branding as an artist as well. So we'll see. But I'm really curious. I want to ask you all, do you all have subscriptions to Disney Plus as parents? Do you let your children watch Disney Plus? How do you monitor what they watch, what they don't watch on Disney Plus? Because you would think Disney Plus is safe, it's good, but it's not all the time. So what are y'all's thoughts on that?
We do have Disney Plus, and we do monitor what they're watching on Disney Plus. Thankfully, our little girls like watching like the old school Disney movies, like Cinderella and Pinocchio. They've recently been watching Pinocchio. Like they like the old school Snow Whites and different things like that. So those are typically safe. When they want to watch like the newer versions of maybe Aladdin, we haven't really let them watch that. It's just we're kind of particular on what they're watching. I definitely would pick Disney over letting them just watch anything on YouTube, because the commercials on YouTube are sometimes not good for little kids to look at when those ads come up. So they don't really watch like cable.
Well, we have a Disney Plus as well. And what we've learned is to teach them how to read the top label, but G doesn't always mean G. So we had to kind of teach them all the different titles and to monitor for ourselves, what does G look like for us? Because the world standard on what G is, or even I think it's like youth or something. So G and PG, we just have to monitor it. And so they've learned, they know to come to us, they know to ask us. If it's not a cartoon, even with the cartoons, but if it's not a cartoon, they know they have to get our approval first, because some of the cartoons are kind of sketchy too. I came across an article, I believe it was last week, that this whole list of all these old school Disney movies that are no longer, I guess, relevant to today's time and how we have to monitor. I mean, I think the number one was Peter Pan. I didn't really dig into the article of why some of these were listed, but they had different reasons. Dumbo, I don't even remember Dumbo, but they listed some. So it's just interesting how life has evolved and how things that were acceptable for us and we didn't really see all the nuances. Now kids can, and they run with that. So it's been interesting.
Wow. Yeah, definitely that evolution over the years has, yeah, that's interesting. And sadly, for reasons that we may or may not agree with, as it relates to values and morals. And I get it. You want to be all inclusive. You want to make sure everyone feels accepted. But at the same time, those values and morals that made old school Disney so special and etched in our hearts and in our brains, have been compromised at times. So
yes.
We'll see. So, all right, y'all, on to the next. So, our girl, Ciara, she is launching a skincare line. She has a new endeavor that she has taken on, and she's actually launching the OAM skincare line. OAM stands for On a Mission, which I love. And so I just want to read a quote real quick about what sparked her and what makes this line so different. She said, "I made this for women of all skin tones and skin types on a mission to be their best, to level up. Okay, sorry. Anyways, to level up, to have the confidence to go after the things they deserve, to be the women they are destined to be." So I love Ciara. I'm not gonna lie. I love the fact that she herself has leveled up, as it relates to her family and just her goals in life and what she is pursuing. But I think it's dope to have a skincare line that's geared toward all skin tones, and it's sad that, most industries are late to the party when it comes to, embracing people of all skin tones. But I love the fact that she's at the forefront for this. So what are y'all's thoughts?
I did look it up. The prices seem very reasonable, like $28 to $62, which is pretty reasonable for skincare. I think she has some competition out there because of all the other celebrities and their skincare lines, but it's really awesome. I am a Ciara fan. I love her and Russell Wilson together. So who knows?
Well, she's beautiful and she has beautiful skin. So let's start there. So I wouldn't mind following her lead on skincare, but she at the mission. I mean, I'm a nonprofit person at heart, so the mission is really what's resonating with me, and I think that's going to set her apart a little bit. But to Toya's point, yes, everybody's starting a skincare line. I think Naomi Osaka just started one, so it's kind of heavy on the skincare, but the mission probably will set her apart. I mean, that's a beautiful mission statement and a reason to start a skincare line. I think as women, society puts a lot of pressure on us with our looks. And, the thing I like about Ciara is that she's always naturally beautiful. She's not overly, with the makeup and the hair. She just has a natural beauty about her. And so I think it would be nice and refreshing to kind of see that take on skincare and just how we view ourselves in general. So yay, Ciara. Yay to the mission. I love the mission.
Yay. So yes, we wish you all the best, Ciara. Feel free if you want to stop on by, become an Eva. Tell us about your
samples. We'll market it for you.
There you go. I love it. But you mentioned it. She's gorgeous, and so they're already calling this skincare line the secret sauce, if you will, behind her effervescence and her glow and all that.
She has a natural beauty, and it comes across as just authentic. Something we don't get to see that much.
Yes.
I think she probably looks the same without her makeup. Maybe. Give or take. It's not like a lot, but I mean, give or take. You could probably say, "Hey, that's Ciara." Not like what?
You can recognize her. Yes. That is the key. Because some of these folks, I'll be like, "Who is that?" Okay.
Different.
But yes, very good point. Amen for natural beauty. All right, so kudos to Ciara. And then last but certainly not least, we have to talk about the Duchess of Essex, Miss Meghan Markle. she is, she's living her best life here in the US now that she and her hubby and her two little ones are here in the US. And she's speaking her truth. She's finally starting to tell her story. I think for so many years, there's been a narrative around her created by the media and, family members, everybody basically except for her. And so she actually graced the cover of the Cut magazine for their fall edition, looking fabulous, of course, and really just, sharing her story now that she is here in the US, life as a mom, a wife, all those beautiful things. And she just recently started a podcast, and she actually featured the Mariah Carey. So they actually had a very interesting conversation about growing up biracial. Of course, both of them are biracial, and just that whole dynamic of not necessarily feeling like they fit into a box. At times they didn't feel black enough or white enough, or just weren't accepted by either sides of their family. And so I just enjoy the fact that she is sharing her story. I enjoy the fact that she is creating her own narrative these days and really allowing people a peek into her world. So, but yeah, any thoughts on the Duchess speaking her truth these days?
Well, I'm definitely a Meghan Markle fan. I've been watching her since she was acting in Suits.
Okay.
She got married to Prince Harry. But I can relate to that feeling of, I read her article or listened to clips of her podcast where she was talking about how people would treat her differently because of her complexion, and her and Mariah are very fair skinned. Mm-hmm. So people wouldn't necessarily treat her as a black woman, and then they wouldn't necessarily treat her as a white woman. They just kind of treated her as like somewhere in between, I guess. But I can relate to feeling that way. A lot of people thought I was biracial growing up because of my complexion and my hair. They just assumed that, that I was biracial. And then eventually they'll ask me, like, what are you mixed with? And I'm like, I'm not mixed with anything. What are you talking about? But I can definitely relate to the way that people treat you. And they definitely treat you differently, whether they know it or not.
Wow.
I think with Meghan, what I admire about her, I think that because she is married to Prince Harry, it's more I guess in our faces, but I think this is who she's always been based on what I've read about her and what I've learned about her. I did listen to her podcast because I'm a Serena Williams fan. So I did tune in for that episode. And I learned a lot more about Meghan, but it also confirmed that who she is today, I think she's kind of always been that person. And she's just doing it in a more delicate way, clearly, which is for obvious reasons. But I think, as her podcast goes on, I'll be curious to see who else she has on the show. I did not listen to the Mariah Carey one yet, but I remember Mariah Carey being interviewed years ago because I was I'm telling my age, I'm a 90s person. So I was a huge Mariah Carey fan. And I remember she was being interviewed by Oprah. And Oprah looked at her and said, "What are you?" And she said, "I'm a human being." And that always resonated with me and stood with me. It was a very rude question to ask someone, but I thought her response was just brilliant because it kind of set the tone, I think, how people saw her moving forward. It's not about we're all mixed up with something, whether we choose to believe it or not. But to just have that be your identity your whole life, that has to be tough. And so that, I think, it transformed the way I viewed Mariah Carey. I just saw her as a person. It wasn't about, let me see who's your father, who's your this. And I think as we move forward with life, and I think it helped with me not being judgmental when you see people. And I was very young when she made that statement. So I just think it brings attention, and maybe that conversation the two of them had will just help us all to remember not to prejudge people and assume that you can kind of identify with them based on how they look. People are forever with many layers. We all have so many layers and so many hidden things that you can't see. So going by the way a person appears is just not It's not cool. So I think it's great.
Wow, y'all! I feel like episode coming on. Like like we need to talk again about. We did a great episode. It's actually probably one of our highest viewed episodes on skin and the color complex
Oh,
in the Black community, which we need to readdress
huge,
again because that is huge. That's like one of
huge.
our dirty little secrets. We don't like to tell nobody, because I didn't know what red bone was till I came to the South. I ain't gonna lie. I literally, I was in school. I was walking down the street, and
Woo!
like Sade Redbone. And I said, who they talking to? Oh, they're talking to me. What is Redbone? Like what in the world? I've
I
heard
don't know
like,
where you got that from.
Woo!
I'm
I
like,
think we've all experienced it. One of my favorite movies. I don't know, Toya. I don't know if you know this, but Crooklyn is one of my favorite movies. Have you seen it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you know that within their family dynamic, they all had a range of color and, you know, but they joked with, I think, the third son. They said red, red, peas in the bed. I mean, so it shows like I enjoyed different parts. I mean, my husband talks about me, thinks I'm ridiculous for liking that movie, but there are so many things that I felt like Spike Lee put in that movie to help us recognize some of the things that even in the 70s that people endure. But you can kind of take some of those lessons from Crooklyn, that's my Crooklyn plug, to just see how diverse and traumatized the Black family is in different ways. You know,
Yes.
colorism,
This is
growing
very
up,
true.
yeah, growing up with I guess, the dysfunction of parental roles, gender roles within that family, the trauma of losing a mother, and then how she quickly had to step in and be an adult and kind of that was it. 10. There she goes, being the mom of the house. And it to me, it's a very deep movie. I'm a Spike Lee fan. Okay. So
I like Crooklyn.
Crooklyn is a good movie. I
I
think
like
people should
Crooklyn.
revisit it. It's an excellent movie. I know the dialogue. Anything
But
you want to
but when the dog was lost though,
Queenie. You talk about Queenie.
oh my gosh.
And back to your point, Maya, about the South. You saw how different it was when they went to go visit. What was her name now? I don't remember her name.
I don't remember her name.
Aunt Saul, excuse me, Saul. So yeah, it was huge. Back to your point, the difference between growing up in New York, coming down and visiting the South.
In the South.
Whew, yeah.
Ryan said he couldn't stand that movie growing up. Anyway.
Yes.
I have it on DVD. I have made my kids watch it. I mean, my mom, my cousin, and I, we know the dialogue. I'm like, yes.
The life lessons, is that
lessons. Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, it's hilarious.
I grew up in a very blended family with all types of shades of us.
Yeah.
And so we definitely experienced that even within our household. Like one of my brothers, he would tell me and my other brother, like, we were peach people. And we were like, what is that? You two, you're not Black. Y'all are peach. Y'all are peach people. And he would always call us peach. He's like, no, I'm Black. I'm Black. Y'all are not Black. Just like the dynamics is so different.
Yeah. Don't get me started on my
all experienced it.
But it was ingrained. I mean, if you go all the way back to slavery, like that division within the Black community was sewn into
a brown paper bag.
Yeah, like you're separated. If you light, you working in the house. If you dark, you in the field, to breed resentment. All of that. It could go on and on, y'all. But yeah, but like I said, we might have to revisit that episode because it's real. It's real. It's how we treat each other, and then of course how others treat us. So. But yes, all that to say, let's dive into Enneagrams, y'all. So we want to know, first of all, what is an Enneagram? What is this big word that starts with an E that some people may or may not have heard of?
In my research, I started falling into the Enneagram space, I think back in 2016, because I was all things leadership. And so I was following a leadership person and they had a free assessment. I'm like, well, what is this? I'm all about assessment. So I took it. And at the time I was not in a healthy place, full disclaimer. And when I saw my number, I like wanted to throw my phone across the room. I was like, because people kept using this word perfectionist with me. And I think of perfectionism as someone that has to have every hair in place, everything. Your clothes have to be ironed, creased. I mean, that's just not who I am. So I was just getting irritated with that word. And so when it came up as my Enneagram type, I was just, oh. So I left. That was like in October. Yeah, I think it was October 2016. And then by January, I needed to get my life together because it was a new year. So I said, well, let me explore this. Let me look deeper into this. And I bought a book, and that was it. I said, oh my goodness, I've taken every personality test you can take, and this is the one. This is the one that is more spiritual based. It was designed, I think, or discovered by some monks years ago. I want to say probably back in the 70s. Don't quote me on that. And it wasn't intended for the masses. And so now it's more, I don't know, mainstream, I guess. And so now everybody's jumping on it, running with it. But it wasn't intended to be for everyone. It was supposed to be like a spiritual encounter type thing. But there are 9 types essentially that all of us fall in, and we all have some of these types within our personalities, but there are some that dominate more than others. And so when I read about the one, I am a one, which is, some people call it the perfectionist, but I like that Ian Cron is someone that I follow. He renamed it the reformer. And I like that much better. Someone who tries to improve their world around them and improve others. I'm like, that's better. That sounds nicer. Perfectionist just sounds like you're just. So I started learning about myself, and then I gave it to my husband. I said, you have to take this. This is like life changing. Immediately, he's like, where has this been? I said, I don't know. I'm just not finding out about it. I was like, we've got to get in this. It has transformed our marriage. So I thought all those little things that irritated me, I thought he was doing on purpose. But now I know that's just who he is. And now that I know that, and now that he knows who I am, we understand each other and we respect those sides of each other better. So we could talk about the types.
I love it. Hold on one second. Before we get to the types, I love it. You set it up beautifully. Do you happen to recall the name of the book that you read that,
Yes, I have all these books and resources for you all, but the best book to get started on to kind of get an idea of who you are is The Road Back to You. And that's by Ian Cron and Suzanne Stabile. And Suzanne Stabile also has another book, Discovering Your Path. I don't know. Don't quote. I can't.
How do you spell Ian Cron? I'm going to put it in the chat.
It is IAN, and his middle name is Morgan, and then it's Cron, CRON.
Got it. Okay.
And I listened to his podcast. He's a great Enneagram expert, and he's diverse too. He has a lot of great guests on his podcast, people who are experts, and then just people who want to know a little bit more about their number. He's a therapist, so it's probably why I kind of, cling to him a little bit. But it's a good podcast just to kind of get some ideas and hear yourself from different perspectives. So
awesome.
We can talk about the types. I'm curious. Yeah. I know what Toya. Woo.
Why do you have to do the woo? Why?
Because I don't know your type. I don't know your type. She has taken it. I think we know now, right, Toya?
I've taken it quite a few times, and most recently, I've consistently have gotten the same result.
Okay. So now we're in a good place. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. But I think we figured it out, right, Toya? I think you figured it out. I don't know. I haven't talked to you about it recently. All right. So 9 types, and they're great. We all have some positive traits, and we all have some not so positive traits, but we're going to talk about positive for you guys today, okay?
All right.
So the one, of course, is the perfectionist or the reformer. This person is ethical, dedicated, and reliable. They are motivated by desire to live the right way, improve the world, and avoid fault and blame. And then we have the type 2. Type 2s are fun people too. I have a lot of 2s in my life. Warm, caring, and giving.
What is it? What are they called? The number 2?
Oh, the helper. I'm sorry.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. Warm, caring, and giving. They are motivated by a need to be loved and needed, and to avoid acknowledging their own needs. So these people don't tell you how they feel. They're just going to pour into you 24/7. So type 3s, I have some type 3s in my life. These are the performers, and are also known as kind of the achiever. They're success-oriented, image-conscious, and wired for productivity. They are motivated by a need to be or appear to be successful and to avoid failure. So a lot of times 1s and 3s can kind of blend, and people get confused on whether they're a 1 or whether they're a 3.
Gotcha.
The type 4 is the romantic. This person is creative, sensitive, and moody. They are motivated by a need to be understood, experience their oversized feelings, and avoid being ordinary. So a lot of artists, creative people, creatives, they probably would fall into that 4 category. People who like to burn candles and paint and, listen to some music, probably sad music.
Yeah. But I like doing those things, and that's not, well, I don't listen to sad music, but I like candles and paint.
Yes, but this person is like their emotions are on their sleeve, and they can connect with life differently, not just when they want to have some self-care. This is like a whole persona. So it's interesting. So the investigator is the type 5. They're analytical, detached, and private. They are motivated by a need to gain knowledge, conserve energy, and avoid relying on others. I actually don't know any 4s, now that you mentioned it, Tori, but I do know 5s. And 5s are, to me, people who are like walking dictionaries or encyclopedias. They have a little bit of knowledge of everything. And they're quiet, usually reserved. That's because they've got so much knowledge. They know a little bit about everything. We recently found out that Latoya's sister is a 5, and I'm like, it makes so much sense. You can have a conversation with her, and she can tell you exactly why the movie was made, who made the movie, who starred. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Then when she said she was a 5, I was like, yep.
I love it.
That's why you know so much about that and everything. She knows a little bit about it.
Yeah, she said, that's me in the chat.
Yes. I love it, though. And then you have the 6. Ironically, these people are called the loyalists. And what I've learned in my study is that most of the world are made up of 6s. Committed, practical, and witty. They are worst case scenario thinkers who are motivated by fear and the need for security. Hence, politics. If you think about how politics are and how many people just jump on the bandwagon out of fear, it's because most of the world is made up of 6s. Everybody runs and gets water immediately just because they read on the internet that it's going to be a shortage or the storm is coming. So that's why I think most of the world are 6s. Type 7s. These are our fun people. My sister-in-law is a 7. Fun, spontaneous. They're called the enthusiasts. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
They're fun, spontaneous, and adventurous. They are motivated by a need to be happy, to plan stimulating experiences, and to avoid pain.
I hope I spelled that right. If I didn't,
go with it. We're not going to be a perfectionist. Go with it. They're fun, but they don't want to deal with any sadness. They'll try to avoid that. They're all about where's the next party or when's the next fun thing we're going to plan. So I think we need them in our lives because I picture like the frat boy, like, coming in. Although my sister-in-law is not like that, but she does have fun with her friends, and she'll be in Arizona, be in New York. You want, what? So yeah, I think they're just all about the fun. The type 8, the challenger, they're great. Okay. They're commanding.
Like there's a story there.
They're commanding, intense, and confrontational. They are motivated by a need to be strong and avoid feeling weak or vulnerable. Ironically, I believe most people in leadership roles are CEOs. I have worked for so many 8s in my life. They're great. They're great. I mean, you're not supposed to type people, but based on how she appears on the court, I would say Serena is probably an 8, but a healthy 8. And just based on the podcast with Megan, I was like, oh yeah, I'm confirmed.
Did y'all see her in the U.S. Open?
Yeah. So I can see an 8, but there are different levels to all of these, right? And so there are unhealthy versions of ourselves and then healthy. Ironically, people said that Martin Luther King was an 8. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But if you think about it, he probably was healthy, but he did not mind confrontation. So it makes sense. So 8s are great people. We need them.
Amen.
Just the healthy versions of them. Otherwise, they will scare us and have us all quitting our jobs. Okay. Then the type 9, this is my husband, the peacemaker. Pleasant, laid back and accommodating. They are motivated by a need to keep the peace, merge with others, and avoid conflict. Yay.
I love it. I love
We
it.
balance each other well. So within marriage, most types are ones and nines. Ones always marry nines.
Wow.
That's interesting, right?
Very.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, there are different levels. There's the unhealthy version of yourself and the I'm working on myself, and now I'm at the healthy version of myself. So I think that every number can be a nightmare, but every number can also be beautiful. And so it's just a matter of taking time to really think about yourself and be true to who you are. I think a lot of times people take these assessments. A friend of mine, we were talking the other day because someone said that they're a 9, and based on their personality, it's like, no, they want to be a 9, but they're not a 9. You can want to be something all day, but you have to be true to who you are and stop with the whole imposter syndrome. You can look at someone on TV and say, I want to be that. So when you read these questions and you start analyzing yourself, you want to be that person. And that's great, but that's not who you are. And so in order to even want or get to the person you want to be, you first have to acknowledge and be authentic and true to who you are. I didn't want to be a 1. I still don't really want to be a 1, but it is who I am, and I'm learning to embrace the beauty of being a 1. We do try to improve people around us. It can be portrayed or perceived as being judgmental. I don't think it's judgmental. I just want the best for everyone. That's what I try to tell my husband. He's the only person that doesn't listen to me. But everyone else receives what I say. I can help someone with a goal, and then I'm like, this is what you need to do. But it's coming from a place of love. So I really want to hear what Toya has decided that she is. No. Listen. No, you can take an assessment all day, but if your assessment comes from, this is like the Enneagram rule, you have to figure it out for yourself. You have to read through all of the types, and you really have to say, okay, I may show up in this space, but this is who I really am. And then we'll talk about wings really fast after. But that's why I think sometimes they say, like even with the podcast that I listen to, somebody will come in, I'm a 3. And then after they dig into it, they're like, I'm not a 3 at all. So it's I think Toya is a great example of just deciding on who am I, and not these tests. They kind of give you an idea. And then you're also not supposed to type other people, which I just did for like 10 minutes.
Let me ask, because I think this is going to tie into Toya's response beautifully. I know Alfie was basically kind of chiming in with what you were saying at the same time, Brandi, as far as people showing up as different numbers in different situations, or I would even extend it to say different seasons, because, depending on where you are in your life. But how does that play into like what you were saying with Toya having to decide what number?
So we don't have time to go into it too deeply, but whatever your number is, for example, my number is a 1, you have a wing. So the 2 numbers on the sides of me, it's like, so you could be a 1 with a wing 2 or a 9. I'm definitely a strong 1 with a wing 2. I like to help people. I like to pour into people. I'm just not a 9. I don't think I really have any 9-ness in me. My husband is a 9, but I think he has both. I think he has both a strong wing 1 and a strong wing 8. He can turn his 8 on, and I'm like, oh, hello 8. So I think back to your point, it's not so much your seasons maybe, but just what wing you kind of lean into. On top of that, when we're stressed and when we're happy, we turn into a different number. So I have to show you the whole diagram, but I'm a 1, and when I'm stressed, I turn into a 4. That's when I'm burning my candles. That's when I'm like pulling out the sad music or my jazz and whatever, and I'm under the covers. Woe is me. That's a 4, but healthy 4s, that's an unhealthy person, of course. But a healthy 4 is like painting and smiling and, and when I am at my best, I'm a 7. I'm ready to go. And, we went to Dollywood as a family. I was the only one like staying there to the end. Everybody's dragging, and I'm like, let's go. And Tori was like, who is this? My brother was like, what is wrong? And I'm like, I'm in my 7 mode now. I'm ready to stay out here. What's that? Yes.
Normally, Brandi be like, it's bedtime. It's time to go to bed. Party ended at 6:00. When are y'all leaving
Yes.
out of my house?
Yes. Usually I'm that person, right? But when we were in Dollywood, it's like I'm in a different atmosphere. I am loving it. It's not a million people out here. Let's go. So I was there. I mean, Ryan was like, what is happening? I'm ready to go home. I can't take it. I'm like, no, one more ride. So, I mean, it just depends on who you are. You got to learn your number. You have to know who you are when you're stressed. You have to know who you are when you're happy. And so Toya mentioned, she's like, I love fours. She might turn into a four. Once we figure out. And then Maya, I can't wait to hear what you think you are too. So,
well, take us on your journey, Toya.
Okay, so I took the test for pre-planning for work in July, and the one was like, like really, really big. And I was like, perfectionist? Is that me? Really? And so, of course, I was like, I don't think that's what I was when I took it a couple of years ago. And I think I sent you a screenshot, Brandi, of what it was like when I took it a couple years ago or whatever. And then I recently took it again before this show, so that I can see, like, was that just like I was in work mode or whatever, and it was still a one. One was my number, and then the other numbers or the wings were 3, then 2, then 7, 4, 8, 5, 9, and 6 was last.
Okay. So what do you think? Let me tell you. So I had Toya take it a few years ago, and she was a 5. And I was like, Albie's husband, Sean, is a 5. And I was like, Sean,
is that the investigator?
Yeah. And I was like, Sean's a 5. And Sean is like textbook 5. And I'm like, that's not you. And so I kept thinking, maybe Toya's a 3, because Toya enjoys like competition and sports. And, so I was like, maybe she's a high achiever. I'm like, well, maybe she's a 3. And she kept saying, no. Then you took it again, and then you were a 7. And I was like, okay, she does like to have the fun. Yeah. But what do you think now that you've...
I think I'm a 1. I think I'm definitely a perfectionist.
Okay.
I think it shows up in work, and we did it. And my coworkers, now that they're getting to know me, I'm like the lead for the environmental science team. And so they have all these little jokes about me because I'm so like precise with my agendas and getting things done and making sure everyone's like, on point. They're like, you are wearing that Enneagram 1 hat crown for sure. Like, oh my goodness. Like they like have these little jokes about me. And I just be like, is it that bad though? I mean, like, is it a bad thing that I'm like, on top of everything? And I'm like that for work. In my home, I feel like I have to dial that back because I like things to look a certain way. Yeah. Like I'm cleaning,
flexible.
Yeah, I have to dial that back, especially when I got married. But before I was married, like my home was like spotless. Everything was in its perfect place, and just like, I strive for perfection. I don't like making mistakes. I feel really bad when I make mistakes. And I think I've always been that way, always striving to be a high achiever in everything that I do. Sports, playing the violin. I was always aiming to be number 1, the number 1 seat in violin, and then I would attain that. Sports, I would aim to be like MVP or whatever, and I would attain that. I'm gonna be the best, volleyball player or whatever. That's just intrinsic, I guess.
You have to. It's a journey. You don't have to know today, like hardcore. But there's nothing else. I've taken it 50 million ways from Sunday. It always shows up the same, no matter what I do. And it's interesting. But Maya, I gotta hear. What are you?
You know what? And I was trying to figure out. First, I was like, have I taken this before? Don't know if I've taken it before, but I did take it, and I came up as a 4. Now,
my first 4.
When I researched on the site that I took it on, they call it the individualist. So
Yes.
when you said the romantic, so I was like, oh, maybe. I mean, I don't feel like I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I'm very in tune with my emotions. I'm very internal. Like, I'm very internal. So, and if you ask me how I'm doing, I'll give you a surface answer. But if you dig, I'm a go there with you. We're gonna go down the rabbit hole, and we're gonna explore, and we're gonna dive.
Oh yeah,
and I'm creative at the core, like sing, dance, write.
Do you do like a lot of design and just all of artistic type of things?
Yeah, and that recharges me, even if
I'm sing too.
Yeah,
do you sing?
Yeah, I do sing.
Yeah, and I remember your spoken word. So yeah, you're my first 4. I'm so happy to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I love 4s. Because I turn into a 4 when I'm at home.
It's a great stress reliever. So like when you said you're stressed, you turn into a 4. It's a great way to emote. It's a great way to just decompress. So
and if that's your personality every day, that's pretty fun.
Like I said, I feel like it's very covert because and that's why I was digging to see what my wings were, because I don't know if I wrote that down.
So you would be either a 4 with a wing 3 or a wing 5.
Okay, so what is the 3? I know the 5.
3 is
the achiever.
Yeah, somebody who loves to be like our actors.
That was my second.
Yeah. I would definitely say I'm the achiever. And I in a lot of cases, I feel like I'm a recovering achiever / perfectionist. And I say recovering because I like growing up, I still have type A tendencies to a certain extent, but I would say probably over the last 5 to 7 years, I've had no choice but to dial back. My body was like, if you don't shut this down, and that because for me, it was unhealthy in the realm that I was playing it out, where it was like, dot every I, cross every T. If it's not right, then I'm horrible, and something, and predicating my relationship with God on doing versus being. Like it was a lot, and even just in my work ethic and, just how I showed up all the time, like there was no room for error. And honestly, my health is what made me like take a minute and exhale and be like, okay, you need to chill out, because if you don't, it's not going to well.
So I believe that, let me see. Make sure I'm telling you this right. So you turn into either a 2 when you're stressed or happy, and then you turn into a 1. So which one is which? I got to figure it out.
The 2, yeah, I remember the 1 is
the 2 is the
helper.
Mm-hmm.
When
you're stressed, do you become a perfectionist or do you become a helper?
When I'm stressed, I become a perfectionist. I would say helper for me. Maybe back in the day, I kind of shy away from that now, if I will, because I was hiding behind it. If it makes sense, like I automatically I was the Mary versus the Martha kind of.
Okay.
And resenting people that were, that were at the feet of Jesus. Like, you don't want to be over here working, getting stuff done. So all that to say, so I definitely feel the journeys and the seasons, and I can, pinpoint those shifts, if you will. I feel like I'm in a healthier place now because I can shift gears and know how to shift gears in a healthy way, if that makes sense. At least I think it's healthy. I might have to dig some more and probably find something crazy, but all that to say, at least I'm more attuned to it, if that makes sense. And I'm aware of when my motives are good versus bad for me shifting those gears, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
you've done some work. Just beautiful. So one thing I have to mention, just to go a little bit deeper, and then I know that our time is winding down, but you have your number, you have your wings, but then you also have the 3 subtypes for each number. So that is why not everyone looks the same. Not every 2 looks the same. Not every 9. So the subtypes are, and this is for the people who really want to go deep, but self-preservation is one. The second one is social. And then the last one is in each home. It's so much to this, you guys. It's really deep. It's called the sexual. I hate saying that because it sounds like it's sexual related, but they call it the sexual subtype. And so within each number, one of those is the counter type. So that means that person is not going to be your traditional one characteristics. So, for example, my mother-in-law is a one.
Mm-hmm.
She and I are different because I'm a self-preservation one and she is a sexual one. Mm-hmm. So her oneness shows up differently from my oneness. So my oneness is more internalized. It's more about perfecting or reforming Brandi. I have two friends that are ones. I seem to know a lot of ones. I think everyone says it's because all y'all are crazy and y'all just connect to each other. So all my friends are ones for the most part. But both of them, I would say, are social ones. They're focused on improving, being the example and improving everyone around them. And then the sexual one is the person who doesn't care if they're perfection. Like they don't have to have their hair in place, but your hair better be in place. So the social one is the person who's going to be the example. I'm going to sit here, I'm prim and proper. We don't do this at work. The self-preservation one, this one right here, is like, why can't you get it together? But I'm going to give everybody else grace. I'm not going to give myself grace. And then you got the sexual one, the person who's like, your hair is out of place. Well, you got 15 hairs out of place. So, so it's interesting that each type has a subtype. And so for people who want to go I'm not going to say a lot deeper, I would say this book, you can't see it, The Complete Enneagram.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll put it in the chat. It's The Complete Enneagram, and it's by Beatrice Chestnut. This is probably the most user-friendly, in-depth book that I have. But it's deep. And so if you really want to take your journey down the Enneagram path, first get the one I mentioned with Ian Cron. That's the simple, ABC preschool version. And then if you want the graduate school version, I would say The Complete Enneagram. And then there are some for real graduate, like PhD version, but I'm not going to do that to everybody. That's just too deep. It's too deep for me. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what? So yeah, it's life-changing. I encourage people to dig into it. It is the only personality type that's more spiritually based. And Edwin and I have found that, you can see the spirituality in it. We debate all the time. Are you born with your number, or is it something that the environment creates for you?
I love it. Let me ask you real quick. The subset, is that what it's called?
Subtypes. Yeah.
Are those three the same for every number?
They are, but the counter types are different for every number.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Graduate.
Right.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
That's why you may meet someone that says, oh, they're a 4. And you're like, no, you're not. That's because they might be the counter type.
I want to know what my subtype is. Ryan put in the chat, oh, yep, she's definitely a 1. But I want to know what my subtype is.
I don't know. I mean, I still have to process that you're a 1. So now that you feel like you really have, narrowed it down and said, this is me, I got to think back on how you present yourself to people. If I had to guess, I probably would say self-preservation, because I don't see you trying to be the example to everybody necessarily, right? You definitely aren't looking at everybody else telling them what's out of place. So I wouldn't say you're the sexual. So maybe self-preservation, I would say, if I had to guess, Toya. I mean, I feel like I know the social ones. They are the people that are like, I'm going to tell you about how you talk to your child in the grocery store. Like, don't talk to your child that way. I have a friend that would do that. I believe, I have to say, poor little Morgan, she's a 1. I feel sorry for her. So the beauty in it is that I'm trying to teach her how to be healthy earlier. But yes, and she most likely would be either self-preservation or social. Because I would never tell someone they're not supposed to litter, but she's like banging on the window telling them, don't. So she might be social. If I had to guess, I would say Carson's probably a 3. He's all about performing and pleasing others. And we don't know, Logan's too young, but we're an interesting household for sure.
What would you guess? Ryla, Layla, and Mariah?
Ooh. 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 Because their
I think
personalities are so. Their personalities. I mean, oh man, I would say Mariah, a healthy, a counter type 9. If I had to type her, um, counter type 9s do not look like Edwin. I would even say Alfie. I don't think she's the counter type either. They're the opposite. They're kind of really into other people, but Mariah likes to get her rest. But she goes with the flow. But she goes with the flow, and she's easy with everybody else. Layla, I would have to say, if I had to guess, would be a 3. She's our performer. She doesn't mind being in the spotlight. She wants to be first. She wants to be, seen and heard. Ryla, I would say Ryla, maybe a 4. What do you think, Toya?
I think a 4.
She's very in tune with what's happening around her. Yeah, or maybe a 5. Maybe a 5, because she knows a lot too, and she kind of is an individual. Is that way? What did we say? That's a 4, romantic.
I said 4.
Well, we said 5 as an investigator. Okay, so I would say maybe a 4 for Ryla. Either a 2. Ryla is she's a great helper, and she's looking for ways to help you. Yeah,
all the time.
Let's go with 2.
All the time. Yes.
2.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Y'all, as you can see, this can go on and on. So the great thing is we are not done talking about it.
So, I'm excited for you all.
For those of you that this is your first time hearing about it, or you don't know what your number is, or you don't know what your number is in this season, we put the assessment, the link for the assessment in the chat, so you can check it out, find out for yourself. Tell us what your number is. Tell us if you were surprised. Tell us if you were shocked. Tell us if you disagree or you agree or whatever. Like, we want to hear it, and we're going to talk more about it. And then we also got a question: have our husbands taken the assessment? So we're actually going to be talking about that next week. So our husbands will be taking the assessment, and we'll be talking about Enneagrams in marriage, because as we alluded to, it can cause some challenge, but at the same time, when you have a better understanding of where your partner is coming from, hopefully it'll help you relate to them better. So we'll talk about that as well. And then even beyond that, we're going to talk about Enneagrams in friendships and in the workplace, because those are the other 2 largest areas that you will be utilizing your Enneagrams. And you may figure out, like, gosh, why does my boss do this? Or why does my friend get on my nerves when she does this, or whatever? Like, this will help in that realm too. So we're going to try to cover as many bases as possible.
That'll be fun. Can't wait to hear that one.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. Shall we get into noble character?
Yes. So, Brandi, we wanted to know if you had a woman of noble character that you would like to recognize, shout out, someone who may have inspired you to go into counseling or anything. So,
well, I think anyone who knows me, I mean, this is pretty easy. It's my mom. She's my everything. She has been the person who has inspired me. She, I could go on and on about who she is, but she is just a remarkable person, the way she cares for her family. And when I say family, I mean her extended family, the way she cared for my grandmother years ago, the way she endured hardships earlier in our lives. She just kept moving, never gave up. So she has given me that inspiration. I always tell people she's the best mother ever. And it just comes full fruition when I think about my kids. They want a pet. And I'm like, And then I started thinking, all the pets my mom let us have. I was like, oh yeah, hands down, she's the best, because she's scared of rodents, and we had every type of rodent, right? We had turtles, we had cats, we had dogs, I had a bird. So, I mean, she was just always allowing us to be who we were, and who we are, and encouraging us to be okay with who we are. And she's just, she's remarkable. She's an unsung hero to so many. And I don't think people who are even in her presence know all that she's endured, her journey, her story. And so she's overcome a lot, and she's kept her faith, and she instilled so much faith in us so early in life. And so she's it for me. She's up there with Michelle for me. Michelle Obama is like,
Woo, woo, woo,
my
woo.
mom, Michelle, so.
I have to say, she is the absolute best
Yeah.
mother-in-law that I could have ever imagined. Like, I feel like she's my second mom. Like, I feel like we're close. I love that. We used to do our little seafood dinner dates, and I just love like hanging out with just me and her without like Ryan and without the kids. It's just like our hangout time. We need to put one on the calendar, Mom, if you know. But I absolutely love her. She's so supportive of me and our family, and she treats me just like
she
that's
does.
what
I mean, everybody is just a part of the family. Yep. And she's just, I can't say enough about her. She's my world.
I love it. Amen. Amen. And shout out to the mother-in-laws. I have my mother-in-law is in the chat this morning. So thank you for joining us, Mama B, Mama G, Mama G. Let me ask, can you share the full name of your mother so we can formally announce her as a woman of noble character?
Yes, Jeannie Wilson.
All right, Jeannie Wilson, you are a woman of noble character.
Yes. One of the funniest people I know.
Love it.
She's also funny. She's hilarious.
So before we close out, I want to let everyone or remind everyone to get your merch at becomingeva.com.
Ooh, nice.
I've been sipping on my coffee mug this morning and drinking my green tea.
Beautiful.
So check out some of our merch on our website. We'll be rolling out different products this season, so be sure to check it out. Next week, we'll be having our spouses on the show, and we'll be in studio for the first time in a very, very long time. We'll be in the studio talking about Enneagrams and marriage with our spouses. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today. Thank you so much, Brandi, for
joining me. It was an honor. Thank you.
So,
thank y'all.
Bye. Bye.